Welcome to the Mind Vault. If you've ever wondered why you do what you do, this channel is for you. We unlock the psychology behind your patterns, habits, and thoughts.
Have you ever just looked around and felt like modern society is sick? Like something deep down is fundamentally broken? Today, we're diving into a really radical idea, that the crisis of our time isn't really economic or political, but neurological. That there's a civil war raging inside our skulls, and one side is winning.
You know, the incredible psychologist Carl Jung, he saw this coming decades ago. He diagnosed this deep spiritual sickness, a kind of blindness, where we can't even see how broken things have become. He believed we were literally losing the strength to even recognize our own decay.
And this leads to a pretty unsettling question, right? What if the real source of our collective anxiety, our political chaos, our feeling of meaninglessness, what if it isn't some external enemy we have to fight, but an imbalance that has taken over deep inside the human brain? So, if our world is so out of balance, what does that actually look like? What are the symptoms? Well, let's take a look at the evidence, because it paints a pretty clear picture of a civilization in distress. I mean, you see these things everywhere. From the bitter, angry divides in our politics to this widespread personal feeling of emptiness and disconnection. These aren't just isolated issues. They're all symptoms of a much deeper problem, a world that's obsessed with power and control, while at the same time completely losing its grip on reality itself. So what on earth could possibly connect all of these seemingly separate crises? Well, neuro-researcher Iain McGilchrist has this revolutionary hypothesis that traces it all back to the two hemispheres of our brain and a catastrophic breakdown in their relationship. Okay, so most of us have heard the pop psychology version, right? The left brain is the logical, buttoned-up accountant, and the right brain is the free-spirited, creative artist. It's a nice, simple story we've been told for years. But according to McGilchrist, that simple story is dangerously wrong. The real difference isn't what the hemispheres do. Turns out they're both involved in almost everything. The real difference is how they do it. It's about two totally different ways of paying attention to the world. To help us wrap our heads around this, McGilchrist gives us this powerful metaphor. Think of the brain's hemispheres not as a team of equals, but as a wise, all-seeing master and his loyal but very narrowly focused emissary. And their worlds couldn't be more different. The master, our right hemisphere, experiences the big picture, the interconnected whole. It's the part that asks why. The emissary, our left hemisphere, is the specialist. It's designed to zero in on tiny, isolated parts so it can manipulate them. It only asks how. And this is the core of our civilizational crisis. The emissary, the part of the brain that was sent out to do specific tasks for the master, has gotten so arrogant, so convinced of its own cleverness, that it has staged a coup. It has locked the master away and taken over the kingdom, totally blind to the fact that it can't see the whole picture. I know, it sounds like some kind of palace drama, but how did this actually happen? How could one part of our brain, a part designed for such specific, narrow tasks, come to dominate our entire culture, our way of thinking, our whole way of life? Well, it turns out our modern world has become the perfect breeding ground for the emissary's way of thinking. Bureaucracies, with all their rigid rules, reward its love for procedure. Our technology, with its constant demand for narrow focus, is like a 24/7 gym for the left hemisphere. And at the exact same time, we've abandoned the very things that nourish the master, things like art, nature, and religion. So, what does a world governed by a brilliant servant who thinks he's a god actually look like? Well, it looks increasingly like our own. It's a world remade in the emissary's image. First, everything and everyone becomes a resource. Nature isn't a living, breathing system to be respected, it's just a pile of raw materials. People aren't unique beings to be understood, they're human resources to be managed. The emissary's world is a world of pure utility, and it's stripped of all its wonder. This obsession with control gives rise to what the political thinker de Tocqueville warned about, what he called a soft totalitarianism.
It's not a tyranny of soldiers and secret police. It's a tyranny of endless paperwork, regulations, and red tape that just slowly strangles human creativity and freedom.
See, the emissary is absolutely brilliant at creating abstract maps and models of reality. But the problem is, it falls in love with its own maps and completely forgets about the actual territory. It starts to live in a virtual world of its own making, losing touch with lived experience, with empathy, with common sense.
And this brings us right back to the ultimate price of the emissary's rule. A society dominated by the left hemisphere cuts itself off from the deep, intuitive wisdom of the unconscious, the realm of the master. And as Carl Jung warned us, a society that shuns that kind of wisdom is a society marching straight towards its own destruction.
So are we just doomed? Is there a way out of this? If our civilization's entire operating system has been hijacked by the emissary, how do we possibly reboot it? How do we unlock that door and bring the wise master back to his rightful place? The answer isn't to kill the emissary. We absolutely need its incredible skills. Nope, the answer is to re-engage the master. And that means intentionally making time for activities that require the right hemisphere's way of being, that broad, open, holistic attention. These are the practices that connect us back to the whole, to meaning, and to a reality that's so much bigger than ourselves.
But here's the catch-22. The world that the emissary has built, it actively pushes back against these very solutions. The systems of technology and bureaucracy that empower the left hemisphere also crowd out the time, the space, and the mental states we need for the right hemisphere to thrive. It's a vicious, self-reinforcing loop. You know, the myth of the sorcerer's apprentice, it just perfectly captures our whole situation. We've gained this unbelievable power to manipulate the world, to bend it to our will. But we've done it all without really understanding it. And in our ignorance, we are wreaking havoc on our planet, on our societies, and on our own minds.
And that leaves all of us with a final, really personal question. As you go about your day, making decisions, talking to people, just experiencing the world, take a second to ask yourself, who is at the controls right now? Is it the wise master, connected to the whole picture? Or is it the ambitious emissary, just focused on the next task? The answer might just determine not only your own future, but all of ours.
If this opened your eyes, imagine what else is hiding in your mind. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly episodes that decode your brain, one pattern at a time. And if something clicked today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay curious.